Wes? We are live, everybody. Good evening, everyone. We're now live streaming across the World Wide Web, and I want to thank all of those who watch our board meetings faithfully and comment and write back to us. We appreciate your involvement in public education. I also want to thank Mr. Wes for being our technology guru on our live stream. Thank you, Wes. I want to remind everyone to speak into the microphone, articulate slowly and quietly. Members of the board and the viewing audience, before we begin, I just wanted to acknowledge a letter that you have in front of you from the Entrepreneurial School of Thought. I want you to know that I did write back to the author of this letter, telling him that meetings on Thursdays conflict with scheduled board meetings and our calendar of events that we must adhere to, and that if there was a meeting on a Thursday, it's likely that we weren't going to be able to participate. I did receive a return receipt acknowledging my call, so they are aware of that. Thursdays are not good days for members of the board or myself. The second thing I wanted to just cue you in on is about 7:30 this evening. I am going to be looking at my phone. The superintendent's group are going to have a Zoom or group text to talk about the weather event, and I hope to have an announcement about that one way or another by 8 o'clock. But the superintendents of Niagara and Orleans County are going to be getting together on a Zoom. I told them we had a board meeting, so with your permission, I'll be looking at my phone during that time to follow the occurrences of what's happening across Niagara and Orleans County. Having said that, we have one very important presentation for you, and it's led by our outstanding Information Services Technology Administrator, Ray Graneri, who just does an outstanding job for us, as you all know. I would like Ray to do two things. One, to give you a brief overview of our district technology plan. There is a resolution in your packet asking for your support of this technology plan. It's due every 3 years. We are up. Ray needs to have it board approved, hopefully tonight, and then he submits that to the state. He's going to begin, however, by something that he found and studies quite closely. The New York State Comptroller has been going around to school districts doing different audits. We're no strangers to the financial audits. Thankfully, we've got the team of Becky and Julie, and all of our past administrators, and we're clean. As of recent controller audits, they've all been focusing around IS, information services, and protocols that we have. So Ray will spend a few minutes just talking about the controller's audits, and then he'll go briefly into the technology plan. Ray, I just want to thank you for all your work literally managing over about $14 million worth of our assets. So, and I know you do it because you're here 7 days a week. So I'll publicly thank you, and take it away.
Thank you very much for the introduction and for the support. In front of you is a list. 12 districts have recently been audited. I've gotten email and some notifications that this is something that we're going to be seeing more and more, thank you, Wes, more and more moving forward. So what I did is kind of color-coded them a little bit, red dots, green dots, and aqua dot. I'd like to just spend a few minutes talking about how we are progressively and proactively kind of addressing these, and you'll see some of this in the plan once I get into that part of it. So the red dots are 4 districts did not establish policies or procedures to disable user accounts or permissions. The other piece was about managing or disabling unnecessary network user accounts, and 1 did not provide a comprehensive AUP or monitor employee use. So my friend Wes is going to kind of flash some screens as I talk about what we've done and some of the things we do to try, or would be a response if we were asked these questions. So the first piece would be an AUP, which is an acceptable use policy. Once a year, we send out to anybody, district staff, consultants, anyone that has a network account and uses our resources, and ask them to reaffirm their AUP, reaffirm that they're going to use technology in the appropriate manner as detailed in the AUP plan. And it also helps us as a department to manage accounts. And this is primarily what we find. It's primarily for consultants. It's primarily not so much district staff, but we find that if we don't get a response, most often it's that that person no longer has a relationship with the district, and we disable that accounts. So it's really twofold. We take this very seriously. Sometimes it takes over a month to get through this. You affirm your AUP and you're on your way, or you no longer allowed to use district resources. So that's a pretty strong response. The other piece that we use, and this really is a response to how you use systems. We have an internal tool that we use not only in IS, we've used in the past in finance and HRO. It's taking information and resources. It's a reconciliation from DIS systems, and we throw that against system use. So, for example, we examine Power School, and you'll see in front of there, this is a list of all Power School users, and it shows their status in the district, what they have access to, what rights they have, what permissions they have. And I can tell you an example of how this would work. These are a little bit dated, but you might have noticed that we had a per diem principal that had access to 79th Street School, so that was a little bit of something that stuck out. It made sense, and we eliminated that permission because that principal no longer needs that access. So this is something we built in-house. We use it in many different ways, and it's extremely effective in managing permissions and accesses to systems, how we spend money, and a lot of different things. We also have some internal tools like content filtering. We use iBoss content filtering that helps us to keep people in the lanes, so they're not allowed to go to any category-based account that's not considered proper use for education. We have enhanced cybersecurity tools that you heard me talk about, and we also have precautions and some tools within systems like email that do not allow content to be included in emails that might put us in a bad spot. So those are, there's other things, but those are kind of some bullet points that are in the red dots area. In the green, they're talking about really not maintaining your asset inventory or not updating it. And this is something, thanks to the superintendent, and we were allowed to purchase. It's called Incident IQ, and it's a very sophisticated incident management system. And again, this is just a quick snapshot of how we're managing. This is a classroom at Maple Avenue School. It shows a homeroom of 20 students. 20 students, the last logged on user, what laptop they're using, what status, what maintenance had, what preventative maintenance is needed, and this became extremely helpful when we had our remote day, because this provided all the backup we needed for deployed technology, and also just is a wonderful tool to help us manage our inventory. So that's a strong response to that. And then the blue, which talks about 2 districts did not provide adequate IT security awareness training for employees and contractors. Well, I can tell you, thanks to our HRO friends, they administered training packages included that was 2 very strong sessions about IT security awareness. One was phishing, which was well done, and one was based on Education Law 2D, which I've talked to you about before. And I'm telling you, those were stringent, difficult training sessions with exams on the end that you had to complete and be correct, or they wouldn't let you continue. And I'll share in a couple minutes how helpful that was to us recently. So again, it's another strong response. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the last dot, which is in Aqua, and it's really about policy. It's more than just AUP policy, it's policies in general. And again, thanks to HRO department, we are a member of the Policy Board Service, which means we get recommended policies that we have accessible to us. We tweak them, they're consistent, they're current, and they're available for anyone to see on our website. So I feel comfortable in what happened to other districts or what was presented to other districts, but I do have to say, and I kind of wrote this down on my sheet here as a reminder, because I really try to keep it as a forethought. We are extremely proactive. It's continuous work. It's never ending, kind of, but there's always more work to do. Because as we learned in the past few weeks, and especially in the last couple of days, this is an emergent industry of cybersecurity that just never really stops. So we feel good as a district, we feel good as a department that we're doing a lot of good things, but the work will never end. And I'll just share one quick example that happened this week. We had kind of a new wave of phishing where it's done very well. And we were in the middle of our evolution meeting, and we saw notification of a phishing that was unfortunately extremely well done. There was not a hint of it being inappropriate, but it actually led to the next step. And what we're seeing more and more in the past couple of weeks is there's engaged banter with phishing events. It's some back and forth that we've never seen before. Fortunately, two things helped. One being what I just talked about up front with email being monitored. A notification came to me that there was personal identifiable information of a fake bank account being transmitted via email, which was excellent, but I think even the better part led to an employee that thought it was suspicious, it looked suspicious, it was extremely well done, and she could have pressed the button to say send, and she paused and she waited, and between the combination of the two things, we stopped an unneeded thing happening. So I think it was really well done, and we're doing a lot of good things, but it's never going to end. So
it seems like it's picked up in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely. What happens is if about 3 weeks ago we had an event, we had a couple more responses than we really wanted. Then we get kind of highlighted, tagged that they kind of had some success here, and they go to the next levels. So it's a shame that people are using energy and intelligence and resources for this kind of activity, but it's just going to keep going. So I wanted to present this. We are actively combating it. We're combating it with the resources, which I thank you for, and we'll continue to do it.
Ray, question for you.
Yes, sir.
Someone sent an email, for the instance me, that's phishing, and I open it.
Yeah.
Does that contaminate our system? It gets caught somewhere?
Yeah, there's a lot of barriers that stop things from showing up. But the emails are getting so sophisticated that, and I could show you the first one that landed during our evolution meeting at 9:30 on Wednesday. If you looked at it on the face value, I'll use the word mask, but it's probably not the most correct term, but they're masking email accounts. So it looks like it's coming from Ray Granary, but that's a mask. Behind it is rgranary@Gmail X4321. It didn't show itself until there was a reply to it. Then the thread below it lost its mask, I'm calling it. And that was one of the things that gets highlighted. But because they're getting more sophisticated, and I think to answer your question, the initial open is usually not that harmful. It's when you share information like a cell phone number or bank account information, that's when you're really into it. And then where it would affect a district more so is if you click on an attachment and embedded there is a Trojan virus or something of that nature. Because you're underneath firewalls, it has a better access to find a home, like in an old HVAC unit. That's what took down one of the local companies. So it's a very sophisticated, intelligent effort on a lot of not good stuff. I hope that answers your question. So I'd like to move now to the comprehensive technology plan. And I'd just like to pause for one more second before I get into the plan itself to kind of hopefully bring some context, because I've been here before a couple months ago talking about the instructional technology plan and the educational law 2D and cybersecurity exercises. This is the comprehensive district plan. This is kind of the governing document for all that we do in technology, comprehensive as the name says, but there's a lot of back and forth with some other things. So I wanted to take a minute to try to hopefully provide context and make the comprehensive technology plan a little more, makes more a little sense. So the instructional technology plan, it's really turned more into a survey I presented a few months ago. It was approved by New York State, and as the name says, it really focuses on instructional technology. A lot of the curriculum work that Mr. Corella helps with, the instructional technology coaches, and it's more focused towards the classroom. But there's the ties back and forth between these different plans and surveys. There's a lot of correlation between them. A few of us in this room probably remember the good old-fashioned disaster recovery plan. There's some back and forth between that and the comprehensive. The disaster recovery plan, which I make reference of but doesn't need formal approval, that's when buildings burn down, there's fires, and we have to rebuild a server room. So we need to have that. That's not mandated. New York State doesn't want to look at it. That's more of an internal document that's used for me, Wes, network guys to rebuild an environment. So it kind of shows some secret sauce type credentials, so I didn't plan on showing any of that, but it's updated. Every October I present it to the internal auditors, and it's a sound document. And then lastly is the Education Law 2D and cybersecurity exercises. Talked about that. It seems like it's occupying a lot of our time because of what I just said, but again, there's a lot of back and forth between all four of these documents. And again, today is the comprehensive technology plan. It'll talk in detail about a ton of stuff. So, Wes, if you could bring up that document, please. And it's, I don't know, it's 70, 80 pages long now, so I'm just going to kind of pull out a few things that I'd like to make comments, but please stop me anytime or ask me about anything in the document. The first thing I'd like to take a look at is page 6, Wes. And I really want to pause on this, and it's the acknowledgments. I have a friend of mine that recently, he worked in district here. He was a BOCES instructional integrator. He took a job as the administrator for technology at a local district, and I congratulated him. And the first thing I said is, get yourself a technology committee. Get yourself a group of people that will help you to make decisions. Because I'll continually say, and it's the truth, is here in room 106, a central office, I make a lot of decisions and recommendations to the superintendent and to the board, but I need the help of all these people to make the right decisions to best bring a technology plan to students, to teachers, because that's what we're here for. And if you kind of look at the people on this list, it's an impressive list, and I'm very fortunate to have. This is an active working committee. We meet as a full committee twice a month, and usually subcommittee in between weeks. I'm thankful that the superintendent shows up almost every meeting. We have central office administrators, we have school-based administrators, we have teachers, we have consultants, and this is the reason why this plan came together the way it did. So I wanted to take a quick minute to show this list and to express my gratitude of the people on this list.
And Ray, in January, you're going to come here, and this list, along with teachers in the schools, are going to make a recommendation to you, who will make a recommendation to me, who will make a recommendation to the board as to the purchase of a new interactive board.
Yes.
So it's a really good committee, and right now we have teachers in schools that are piloting these boards, the different versions of it, and giving you the feedback and scoring the board. So it's a good slide to show that we're trying to be inclusive of every aspect, but the teacher in the classroom has to use these boards to give us the real feedback on how they work.
Yeah, exactly. We have one board is at Niagara Falls High School right now, and that exercise is it's in a STEM room, and teachers are invited to use that board. We have another board at Gaskell Prep School that's in the science teacher's room, and a board in flight right now that will land at Abbott, which looked at the first board. So we're using as much input and eyeballs on, because this is a purchase that's going to directly affect the classroom and be with us for a while. So I think we're on a good plan, good path. Wes, could you go to page 9 for me, please? This may look familiar to you. When I was here talking about the instructional technology plan, I talked about SMART goals and talked about that for a while, because in the context of an instructional technology plan, this is what we do. This is it. These are the goals that we use to directly affect instruction in the classroom. When I presented to you last time, it was 4 SMART goals. We submitted it to Erie One BOCES in New York State, and they came back with one suggestion, and I'm going to explain quickly the suggestions they had. The first was to consolidate SMART Goal 1 and SMART Goal 2 into one SMART Goal, which you're seeing now. I can tell you that if there was a contest for the mother of all SMART goals, if there is a contest for that, this would win, because we really, really took a lot of content and dropped it into this SMART goal. Wes, if you could just bring up this chart, the continuum chart that I did before it. I'm going to try to summarize this quickly, and it's this chart really is what influences most of the instructional technology plan, and it really drives a lot in the comprehensive district plan. This is a continuum that was developed in-house. It represents levels of learning by discipline, by curriculum, and these are kind of our benchmarks. Not a standard, because it's a district facility device. It is benchmark based. So with this chart, this is really what SMART goal number 1 is talking about. It will really drive professional development. Which we've already done. We've done an initial survey that kind of puts teachers in certain categories, identifies where their need is to get these levels. Wes, if you could just kind of scroll between level 1, level 2, and level 3, it'll identify what kind of professional development they need to get better at, have interest at, or fit into what they're teaching. It includes assistive technology features. And again, this will drive professional development, it'll drive software offerings, it'll drive assessments, and it really is a great document that now is being used by other school districts. So I'm happy to have this as a in-house built document that drives quite a bit. Wes, if you go to 12 and 13 for me, I'll quickly share what the new SMART goal. So the mother of all SMART goals is now 1. And what the state asked me, which is in kind of in alignment with what I've been talking about, is they asked me and the technology committee to expand on the network and security efforts. So that's what I did. SMART Goal 2 is all about providing a secure network platform, and it's a lot of what I talked about under data privacy categories. And SMART Goal 3 is all about infrastructure, which you need to have hand in hand. And we recently, as you heard me talk about, we've almost completely rebuilt our internal network to be 10 gig traffic so that we can handle all the things that we're doing internally. So the adjustments in summary are we consolidated a lot of our classroom stuff in the context of a comprehensive plan, and we narrowed and kind of concentrated some direct activities for a secure network and a robust network. Wes, if you could go to page 21, please. I wanted to touch on this for this main reason, is in the past, and I'll say this in general context, we always were able to buy stuff. We always had a strong aided environment. We always were able to, fortunately, in support of the superintendent and the board and teachers and everyone, buy stuff. The one piece that we were kind of missing, not bad, but kind of missing, was the supporting resources. So in the past 3 or 4 years, we had the introductions of in-house technology integrators. We've expanded on our BOCES presence, and we've strengthened some of the things. Wes, if you would just kind of scroll through, it will kind of strengthen some of the support-based resources that we have to marry in with all of this hardware, which I'll share with you in a little bit. So we're really hitting our stride coming into the near future. Just a quick on page 30, Wes, if you'd go just to kind of respond again to what we're seeing out there is policies. Oh, there, Wes. No, that's better, Wes. Stay there, please. This shows, which I was kind of talking about, hardware and professional development and how we fund things. I want to thank the finance department because we were able to take all of these funding sources and kind of meld them together. So when I mentioned that we had $1.2 million of purchases to upgrade our network, so we now have brand new switches, a new core, all this new equipment that allow us to do things that we want to do. If you looked and you drill down into how we did it financially, you can see the funding sources, and it's just not hardware. It's all of these services listed below. And if you look at the general funds, I could have a conversation with my friends from the finance department and we could explain how we piggyback on different funds and for appropriate categories and appropriate categories to buy all the things you see on the left-hand side under technology resources. So it really is amazing that what we're able to do, and at the end of the day, what it truly costs us using all those funding sources.
So we have over 10 funding sources to support our technology.
Yep.
We use every single one available to us, from BOCES to grants to general fund to NISTL to E-rate.
Yep.
And we combine them all in a blended fashion to pay for all of this.
In a quick kind of example, when I'm talking about network switches, for instance, that's an E-rated appropriate funding purchase. So we use E-rate. What's not E-rate aidable, we take whatever we can in a BOCES aided concept and apply for that. And then we try to meld in any of these that are applicable, and at the end of the day, we'll hit an A fund, but it's not after it's gone through all these funding sources.
Right.
So it's really a great process. And the second to last thing I want to talk on, Wes, could you bring up a technology software chart for me, please? So in the plan itself, we have to define all the software. The superintendent will talk about approved highway, and we've really gotten better at this in the past couple of years. But this is the list. We have a couple variations of this list and another list. This one is defined as what we consider the approved highway for instructional and classroom computer technology. So you have to be on this list or you can't use it. The thing that's new, and it's a part of Education Law 2D, as you see on the right-hand side, it's Education Law 2D notes. We have to acquire, if it does contain or could contain sensitive information, personal identifiable information, or things like that, we have to secure a contract with the vendor so they can provide us assurances that as we're doing business with them, as we're sharing our information with them, they have all the proper protocols, network, hardware, and policy so that our data is safe. So the software package that me and Wes were planning on building and generating in my garage probably will never make this list because we don't have the necessary constraints to do it. So this is something that we really have gotten better on, and we're slowly getting consistent acceptance to stay on this highway. Now, this is not super proprietary that if you're not on the list, you can't get on this list. This is where that great group of technology committee comes into play, where if you have three people, three vice principals at schools, they bring recommendations to the committee. The committee talks on a couple different levels. Maybe there's something in-house that can already do this. Maybe it's not something that aligns with our curriculum. And at the end of the day, if it's something that the committee proves acceptable, it gets introduced to this list.
Go ahead, Rob.
Just a quick question. And Ray, it might not be for you, but like I know on this list, it's, you know, there seems to be a focus on the data security part of it and the personal information. But like for all of these programs, do we actively review them to make sure that nothing's overlapping from a, like we're paying for Class Dojo, but we're also using Remind, and we could, you know, save money on licenses there?
It's a really good question. Rick, did you want to start, or let Rick? Yes, it's a really good question.
Yeah, I can start real quick while you're waiting.
Ray will start, then Rick, and then I'll jump in.
Yep. So the technology committee, at the end of every school year, we take this list, we marry it with licensing information, how it's licensed, how it's used, usage reports, and then nice feedback from the schools. Every one of these we review, and we find, using all the things, it's just not, well, no one really used it, we're going to cut it. It's more than that. It's a meeting or two of going top to bottom on these lists to see if we want to continue with it, if we want to adjust it, if we want to increase it. Then the other piece, Rob, is the technology, Mr. Bilson, the technology committee reviews each entry and does the things like you said. So there is a pretty sound process. Sorry, Rick.
Well, ditto what Ray said. That we review it annually, and then the other part of it, and I don't believe Ray has talked about it, but when he talked about the technology committee, we have a process by level by which staff can recommend new resources to us. So nothing is purchased unless it's been reviewed and vetted by the committee. So there are a couple of steps to that process. If an instructor feels that they have a need for a certain piece of software, whether there's a fee attached to it or not, they put in, they file a form that goes to a contact person at their level. If it's elementary school, it's Angela Manila, who's the assistant principal at Abbott. She does the research associated with it, and then she brings it to the technology committee. So we look at it, we make sure it's not duplicating something that we already have access to. We look to make sure it's aligned to curriculum, how it fits in overall, and then we make a recommendation on whether or not we can move forward. And then another very important piece is it 2D compliant, which is that last column there? And oftentimes it may not be. So that would stop the request right then and there if it was not secure enough that we couldn't trust that the vendor wouldn't share personally identifiable information.
Thank you both. That was very helpful. One more question. Do we also look to see, or through our knowledge of all the years using these different pieces of technology, do we look to see if there are free resources that do the same thing for items that we're paying licensing fees for?
Yeah, we actually have another list that I don't have, but it is in our website. That's the non-subscribed list of things. So that's this is a list that is mostly paid for, strategic, and requires a little bit oversight, credentialing, of that nature. There's another list that actually shows website type resources, teacher resources, textbook accompanyings. So yes, that's in play. And what we are finding, I don't want to speak for Rick, but we're finding that there's much more electronic content associated with textbooks than there ever was. So that's coming into play as well. And I think they're trying to get their way into this market. And maybe it's a good business decision that they just can't sell books, but they need to sell an electronic component, and it's definitely knocking on the door, you're correct, of what we're seeing in front of us.
Rick, can you just talk 20 seconds on app blocker white page, so I can't just go and say, boy, I love product X, I'm going to use it myself.
Yeah, that's one of the better tools that makes me sleep a little bit better, is that especially with all these laptops going home and the potential of something getting loaded on a computer and doing some damage. So what the superintendent is referring to is we have an app locker. So it's a piece of software that basically manages a giant whitelist. So everything you see in front of you, everything that's on websites is on the list. So if Wes and I's new program that we decided we wanted to run somehow lands on a district laptop, it's not on the whitelist, and it'll get a nice big blue stick sign that says no luck. So that's been very effective. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Quick question, maybe Rick and Ray. In that process Rick was describing, I'm a teacher or I'm whatever, and I find a piece of software that's going to work, or I think it's going to work. How long does it take from the time I send in the first request till, if approved, I get the software?
Well, we see it pretty immediate because there's a link on our website that a teacher can put the request in. That immediately gets sent to myself, and let's say it's an elementary school teacher, it would be sent to Angela Manella. So we see it kind of right away. I queue it up, and it's addressed on our full technology committee agenda. Sometimes I can tell you, like, for example, our next technology committee, we're going to be using almost the entire time to be vetting one of the smart boards. So maybe if a teacher enters one in tomorrow, we may not get it to it on December 1st, but I'll say the lag time, it's immediately addressed, immediately recognized, but a full vote, because depending upon what the software is, it might require a vendor demonstration, it may be just a conversation, so it can be variable, but I would say a month is usually the extreme side of when the technology committee will say yes, no, or we need more information. The last thing I just wanted to mention before there's any questions is page 65, please, Wes. Because this is the comprehensive plan, I wanted to kind of show how this is different than some of the things that you've seen before, and then also just kind of recognize something that I think is super important, and it just shows the depth of work. So this is our total inventory for the district, device-wise. So the two things that I want to point out is, if you notice, just the sheer number of desktops that are in district and the sheer number of laptops and notebooks that are in the district. It just gives you kind of an idea of, you know, what the comprehensive technology report will show, what we have as an offering for the district. And then the other piece that we've done in the past couple years is, one of the problems we would have is, let's just focus in on the 9,471 in-service laptops. 4 or 5 years ago, we had, for reasons, we would have many variations of what that device would look like. It could be a Windows 8, it could be Windows 10, it could be a certain build, it could be different version levels. There's a lot of different ways that those devices could look different and cause some real slowdowns. So what we instituted a couple years ago, and again, thank you for allowing techs to work during the summer and to get this through, that entire laptop notebook population, whatever that adds up to, during the summer, if you walked into all of our 11 schools, you would see these hooked up, sometimes 23 times, sometimes not hundreds, but over 100 being imaged at the same time. So now you're dealing with 9,471 in-service laptops that look exactly the same. They're a Yoga 11E with all the same landscape, and it just eliminates a tremendous amount of potential issues, because if you're having problems with one laptop, you're having problems with 9,471. So, and I'm thankful that we have the resources to pull that off. So that's my kind of review of yellow sticking this plan that I thought was important and was reflective of what a comprehensive plan should be. Is there any questions on this at all? I know it's a lot, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I would like to just make a comment and ask you to share with the board 3 things. Number 1, this is what you're asked to vote on. It's due to submit to State Ed this month. It is a resolution this evening. It is a full, huge document if you want to read every level of it. Ray hit the highlights. Thank you. Ray is also the head of the Department of Audiovisual. So Wes is here, Nick Vajani, people that do audiovisual. That's in Ray's department. The second department that Ray is in charge of is all of the district's telephones. And we are going through a telephone switchover. I'm expecting all of our phones to be switched over the Easter break. But right now, he and Earl's team are making sure all of the Cat 6 wiring, I learned that, I don't know what it is. I learned it. Cat 6 wiring is in place. So we'll have a new phone system, because it's been giving us a couple of headaches. That's already been purchased. It should be in place in the district by the conclusion of Easter recess. Go ahead, Nick.
I just have a question. I've been on board a number of years, and it seems like every 3, 4, or 5 years, we're going through another phone system. Is it because the systems we're picking are not good, or the equipment's bad?
Well,
I mean, it seems like am I not correct? It seems like quite often
Well, we have the same system. It's an Avaya system, but there's upgrades and modifications that lend itself to believe that it's a new system. It's the same core system, and we've just been adding components, but they certainly look like they're new systems. For example, the last kind of upgrade that was probably about 5 years ago was when we took the administrative building and moved from an analog environment to an IP digital environment. And it's the same system, but we were really asking it to do too much.
So in other words, that'd be like having a G3 phone and going to a G5?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that?
Yeah, what we're doing now, though, is this is a completely new, different system, and actually, it's two kind of major things. In the past, we used an Avaya system based on an analog environment, 90%, and 10% IP, which is mostly in this building. We are now moving away from established vendors, established systems, and moving to a BOCI-supported Cisco-based system that's 90% IP. So there's pros and cons to everything. I'll address pros because I think they're substantial. The BOCI system is Cisco-based, and we're a Cisco-based district. So now we have a marriage of equipment based on Cisco. The IP was a long time coming, and that's a lot of the reasons why I'm working with Earl and electricians is that we have significant wiring because we're not wiring back to an old punch panel that was analog. We're wiring into Cat 6 wiring. Well, yeah, they were doing, yeah, they took themselves out of the service maintenance.
They're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, no, they took themselves out of, it was something that probably needed to be done and they did it to themselves. So, to answer your question, it's upgrades, but now we're talking an entirely new system. Financially, it's now aided, where before it wasn't aided. And BOCI's has come a long way to have resources to support this. And because it's IP, it's more aligned to what they do.
I'm going to follow up on that 'cause my question was, are they still calling it VoIP or voice over IP? Is that when you talk about going digital, okay. How does that work? Is that like, because you said we went from analog and there was like the way that it's all hooked up and coordinated. Is it like Wi-Fi based? Is it still, there's still a portion that's analog as far as setting up the actual communication chain throughout the district? How does that work?
Well, there's still going to be a component of analog, and it's about 10% for certain reasons. The how we're going to do most of it, it's going to be it's a Cat 6 wire, but it's going to be in a piggybacked environment. For example, all these classroom phones are analog. What we're going to do, the plan is to each classroom has at least 3 ports that you could plug into if you choose, a printer, if you choose to plug in your laptop and your smart board. We're going to piggyback, the phone is going to provide a piggybacked environment, so the Cat 6 line that's there now will plug into the phone, then that phone will piggyback to whatever device they want, whether it's the printer, whether it's a smart board, and if they choose the laptop. The challenge that Earl and I have is that there are places within the district that no piggyback is there. So gymnasiums, pools, areas that are kind of not inclined to have a Cat 6 run or none's available, we've already identified, and we meet weekly on Fridays, the areas where we need to make those runs. Because we're looking at an Easter install, now's the time for electricians and IS guys to collaborate, work together, and get that infrastructure in place.
Thanks, Ray. One more question. From a fax perspective, are we doing like virtual faxing too as part of the system, like an SR fax type of thing? Do we even do that now? How does that work?
Kind of. And that's, you landed on the analog piece, that 10%, that's the reason that's going to be there, is that's going to support that kind of thing. We use, for that kind of activity, I guess the closest thing we use is our copiers, our office copiers. We kind of use that copier as a launching pad for kind of the stuff that you're talking about.
Ray, could you address again in 30 seconds because it's coming up? You know that famous system where I get on the phone, maybe I'll do it tonight, and make a call to everybody's house? Where most people hear my voice and hang up and other people listen. That's called Connect Ed,
School messenger?
School Messenger. We are moving away from that.
Yes.
Can you just spend 30 seconds on why and where we're going?
Yeah, the next level, school messenger product we use. Blackboard is the software and vendor we use for website maintenance, lots of things that are website. They have a product available now that really takes us to the next step. It takes us to tools that are done manually in IS, like updated lists. There's API connections from our finance manager system, from our PowerShell system, that immediately feed the system so we don't have to worry about our population, kind of like what happened today, where we're constantly adjusting manually who gets calls, when they get calls, how they get calls. We have this new system will have an API connection to eliminate all of that. It has a translation feature to it.
That's what's
So-
important to me, that we were making calls to families who weren't, because of a language barrier, understanding a word of what I was saying. And this, you call it translation?
Mm-hmm.
This will now translate my calls into 18 or 30 different languages.
Yes.
It was either that or I had to learn the 30 languages.
Is that like IVR based?
Yeah.
So they'll be like, if you want this in English, press
Yes.
1.
Yes.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, I really, I was negligent not during COVID, not really doing that, and we got that from our parents, our ENL parents, and it was a great point. That's the big reason for me. If you wanted it in Arabic, press 1. If you want it in Hispanic, press 2. So that's how it works, Tony. But that's.
I don't know how the heck we're gonna pull that off.
Well, either was that or I was going to learn 30 languages and we were going to buy a lot of Rosetta Stone.
Not Rosetta.
Huh? Yes.
I wonder what the voice sounds like.
I picked out 30 different actors to be the readers. Sometimes George Clooney will come on. Other times it will be, if it's a not-important message, it will be Angelo Massaro. So there's varying people that I'm going to use. Yeah, if I really want people to hang up, we'll go in the Angelo Massaro voice. If I want someone to think, it's funny. I'm sorry to digress, but just a little humor. I went into a 4th grade class. The teacher said, "Do you know who this is?" And they're like, "No, who is this?" "That's Mr. Laurie." He said, "That's Mr. Laurie. He's the one that calls your family all night." And they thought, "Oh, that's all you do?" I said, "That's kind of all I do." And the boy said, "That's what you look like? You look like that?" 4th grade class, the kid will be repeating the grade. I said,
obviously didn't watch Channel 2.
I know. I said, "What did you think I look like, young man?" But no, it doesn't do any facial stuff. So, Ray, 2 last things and we'll let Ray go. Ray, in case you are ever asked, do we have a 2D officer, 2D administrator? You vote Ray in at your organization. He is our 2D compliance officer, in case that were ever to come up. And Ray is also in charge of Raptor. I sent you a message this morning about Raptor. Raptor is now in 7 schools. We're rolling it out slowly, but Raptor is the screening device of licenses that will set off an alert or notify the administrators if there are a problem. Today, a few wires got crossed, but it was good because it was a real live test and how we responded to it. But Raptor, by the end of January, will be in every school, and that forces someone to show their identification, have it scanned against sex registries and police registries, and we're able to respond quickly. And I want to compliment the schools and the parents and guardians who have presented. Our problems have been few and far between. Few and far between. Matter of fact, I never thought we'd get to the high school this fast, but we've got a very good senior school monitor who loves the system, and she's doing a great job checking these at the high school. So that's just a smidgen of what Ray's in charge of, and I just wanted to thank you, and if there are any other questions. Thanks, Ray.
Okay, thank you very much for your, I can guarantee you we'll work hard, and I thank you very much for your support.
Hard to find a good man like Ray, much like our team. Well, Ray is the team, and he gives all his all 7 days a week. You'll find Ray here every Saturday and Sunday all morning, and he leaves just in time for the Miami Dolphins game. It's the only thing that we can do to get him out of here, because Tony, he is a diehard Miami fan. I know. I didn't want to think he's all perfect. He does have some.
In this day and age.
In this day and age, he's a Miami fan.
It's all about
Dan Marino,
1972.
What's that?
It's all about 1972,
Yeah.
perfection.
He's living when you were
You're happy because Philly lost, yeah. I know.
when you were 8 years old, Ray. At least you're not a bandwagon guy.
Richard too, he's a Miami fan.
We don't
He's in the
count him.
family.
We don't count him. We don't count Richard yet. He got to name a project. That's all he's getting. Yeah. Yeah. It was a good year. I was in 5th grade. I know you weren't alive. The people at the end of that table.
He's at 39th Street School.
Yeah. Ray and Wes and Maria and Judy, can we call up today's agenda? Because you will be asked in 35 minutes to vote on everything that we reviewed 1 week ago. Tonight, there are no special presentations. Of course, there's public comment, minutes, budget transfer. There are no bids. Becky and Julie, is there anything untoward in the treasurer's report, budget transfer, et cetera? No. Nothing? It's the calm before the budget storm. Maria, would you like to come forward and present updated personnel reports? We do have some difficult word for certain people to say. Asterisks.
It's a very tough word for me, but they are starred. That one's a little bit easier.
We'll call them starred.
We'll call them little stars.
Yeah, that's all.
It's the star key on your phone.
Maria's probably got 10 law degrees and she has trouble saying asterisk.
I have trouble with
I
that.
don't know.
Peculiarity I struggle with.
Peculiarity she uses with me.
Yeah, yeah.
She'll call me. Oh, we are, Ms. Dunn. It's huge.
Alrighty, so you'll notice on the first page there, our first asterisk is our district transportation coordinator, who is retiring effective December 30th, so we are going to miss her.
Mr. Villardo, Ms. Dunn, and I are sidebarring. Not a bit. It is a huge, huge, huge loss. The posting went out today.
Yes.
I just want you to know we put a 5-day posting out for that position. It is, especially in these latest times, one of the most difficult jobs in the district, and we are going to miss her immensely.
Very much. We have some updated resignations for you there. That's why you're seeing the star there. And then you're seeing some probationary appointments. So we had some movement and some appointments there. Assistant child care associates at Abbott and Calfus. Some folks at Head Start. We had to appoint a teacher assistant and a cook and a program aide. So you're seeing that we are continuing on with our hiring for our Head Start program, and we're moving forward with all of that. The temporary appointments, the voluntary transfers, most of those you've already seen. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and give me one more second, we didn't add a new leave of absence. I thought we were going to add a new leave of absence, but we did not. Does anybody have any questions about the revised classified report? Alrighty.
Wish those retirements well, but and those are 3 good people. But that top name is going to take some work in the next month for Maria, Becky, and myself.
Yes. The certificated report. So we don't have much there except the one new section of the 60-day conversion. So we are at the point of time in the year where the folks that began the year for teachers who were out on leaves of varying lengths are converting. And what that means for those who may not know what a 60-day conversion is, that the people start the beginning of the year either as per diem subs or at a per diem rate of pay. Then once they reach day 61, they convert to teacher pay and teacher benefits. So the folks that you're seeing here, and I do already see a typographical error, my apologies for you, but the first person is not in, that person does not have 2 subs in for her, so my apologies. But the point is that these folks are converting on the effective date. So the first person will convert on December 20th, December 3rd, November 30th, and 2 more on December 3rd. So those folks will be moving to teacher pay and benefits if they need them, or they will opt out of the benefits. And then, moving forward through the report, you see on page 5 of 17, we're still moving forward with our training on trauma-informed care and practices. In that section there, we added a few new names. Those were folks who may have applied late, but that we were able to accommodate in the training. Moving through the rest of the report, I think you'll see in varying places on page 7 of 17, a couple of new names there, but very few other than where I had pointed out before. Are there any questions about the revised certified report?
On page 11 of 17, Maria,
Yes.
these are our winter sports coaches.
Correct, yes.
We were able to fill all coaching positions for winter sports with current employees.
Yes, sir.
Question, Mr. Laurie.
Yes, sir.
I see down there you have varsity ice hockey coach.
Yes.
Will we be fielding our own team, or are we still with the Lockport guys?
We will not. We look at it every year, and we will continue to share a boys' ice hockey team with Lockport. But Mr. Contento reviews that for, every year. This year, we're not comfortable trying to go on our own, so we're going to continue with Lockport. It's worked out pretty well. I'm hearing there's some up-and-coming interested boys in hockey, and we may move away at some point, but I'm not comfortable at this time without it. Yes, lack of, especially at the varsity level, when we're playing against 17 and 18-year-olds, and it's pretty competitive. The good news on the horizon is there's some kids coming up, so I'm hoping in 2 or 3 years that won't be the case.
Are we partnering out with junior purple eagles or the Howard Street Bruins, just to kind of see what kind of connection we got?
Yes, we're talking to them about Niagara Falls, current Niagara Falls students, what age or grade they're in, and hopefully we'll get them to stick through it. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. You mean the adults or the kids? Oh, well, some of those adults you mentioned, I don't know, but there are those names you mentioned, they do have kids coming through the system, so, yeah. So, Mr. Perretto, to your point, at some point we may not be, but we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah, I just feel bad about
Yeah.
that.
But at least we offer it. The other thing I want to mention, since we're on coaches, because I said boys ice hockey, if we ever were to get enough girls, 3, 2, I would be open to partnering with multiple schools to field, let's say, a Niagara Falls team, school X, school Y, and school Z team. Mr. Contento's asked in the past, but their commitment has not always been as strong, and we haven't gone there yet. But that also is in our mind, too, to do a combined girls hockey team. But we would definitely have to partner with 3 schools, so, but we're not yet.
Maria?
Yes, sir.
On the certificated, it's items 1 through,
Let me see, I lost track of my Roman numerals here, Russ. Where are we in the schedules? 13.
1 through 13, and how about the classified, 1
And
through?
the classified, again, is 1 through, I'm getting there, 11.
Thank you.
Last question from Maria, from me, just for sharing with the board. Can you tell us where we are with staffing holes, meaning staffing positions that we haven't been able to fill, areas of concern, either on the certificated or classified side?
Well, now our one large hole.
I'm sorry?
Our one large hole now will be in the district transportation office.
Except for that, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, except for transportation. Put that one aside for now.
So, again, we are just struggling with finding a school psychologist. We're still looking for one school psychologist.
And I know that someone watched our board meeting last week and was going to reach out to a friend to hopefully contact Ms. Massaro. So if someone knows of that position, we will be happy to
Yes.
introduce her to Mr. Massaro, and she can go through the process. That's the big one.
That's the big one. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving ahead, We did go through these short-term contracts. If you notice, with the exception of number 4, Rob and Carol Allen, these are all paid for by grants. Rob and Carol Allen is a school index. It's an A code from Bleneva Bond School. There are also a couple of Head Start non-cost resolutions on here. And if you go to the last one, just to reiterate, why are we rescinding this contract? Because we're moving it to the capital projects. We don't have to use District A code money to pay for that service. It's qualifiable, if that's a word, under capital projects. Ray, if you move on. We have, I'll go quickly because we've done these. You've got backpacks that were given. You've got a technology grant and a teacher center grant. You remember last week, Bank on Buffalo, and Becky wasn't here, but she can, and Julie, they're offering a very, very good rate. I wouldn't say great, but 2.05% to invest some of our money in. And we want to make Bank on Buffalo a bank, an approved bank, correct, Becky? That's correct. And you're planning on an 18-month, what are you going to do?
An 18-month certificate, and the last note rate was 2.05%.
And an 18-month certificate?
Yes.
And our money right now is at what?
We're at 10? 1.25, okay.
So we're going from 1.25 for that money to 2.05. So it's a little bit more money for the taxpayers. And we're not putting in 3,000 banks, we're putting in just one additional one. 605, remember that certifies that you know that the Head Start on 24th Street is a federal interest building and that we can't sell it. The Head Start bylaws, Maria reviewed those. 607 is to approve the plan that Ray just laid out. Judy would like to clean out her office of ballots, right, Jude? She's not here. Judy is cleaning her office out of the ballots because they're piling up, but we have to make sure that we did that in official business. ENL services for our ENL teachers. Pre-K training is 610. 611 is pre-K training, I should say. 610 is pre-K training. 611 is for our BEST training. This is in our social emotional realm. 612 was asked for by Niagara Falls High School. More outside certified mental health counseling, paid for out of a grant. 613 is for more for our ESL students. 614 is for Gaskill Middle School. Mr. Bass reminded me they're using Niagara Barber to teach and cut hair at Gaskill. You'll be seeing one for Ninja coming up for the high school in the next month. 615 is a $1,000 contract for storytelling at G.J. Mann by Native American person. 616 and 617 are speakers and presenters for our Black Excellence program at Niagara Falls High School that Mrs. Jones started. 618 is to pay off I think it's about 86, let me see, I shouldn't have it memorized. It's $10,900 out of Smart Schools. 619, we spoke about this last week in our executive session. As you know, we have a class action lawsuit against the district for special education students during COVID. They're claiming that not just we, but 1,000 districts across the state did not, pardon? I'm sorry, thank you, Jimmy. 1,000 districts across the country did not provide adequate special education services during the pandemic. And this allows these attorneys that we discussed in executive session to go into federal court, a place where our attorneys can't go, to hopefully get this case dismissed. And finally, members of the board, 620 is the, is this the pilot one, Judy? This is the pilot program for remote learning. It's pilot. If you look at your desk in front of you, you'll find 619's resolution and 620. This is for a pilot resolution for remote board members ending this school year, July 1st, 2023. Mr. Petrosi, I don't know if you wanted to send anything out. Say
Mark,
anything
I
else. Yeah.
have a.
Sure.
I wanted to make this say, I thought that's what we said. On the resolution, it has 2024.
Oh, it's wrong. I'm sorry, let me see if I can find it.
July 1st of '23, right?
These are the protocols, Mr. Massaro.
And the protocol?
It is not in the resolution, it is in the
Well,
protocols.
that's what I was looking at, the
Yeah,
protocol.
Mr. Massaro will explain that, I believe.
So the resolution looks right.
Okay. So I was looking at the protocol.
If I may, the board passed the protocols in October. That's what you're looking at, what you've already passed in October. As Mr. Massaro explained it to me, should you choose at the end of July 2023 not to move forward with this, then the procedures become moot. Is that correct, Mr. Massaro?
See now, for the pilot program, protocols that you approved last meeting,
I see the date now on there.
if you go to July 1st, 2023, and the pilot program goes away, the protocols stay until July 1, 2024, when the state then takes action. Or if after 2023 July, you want to do away with the procedures, you should do it at that time. But right now, in order to change the procedure, you would need another resolution changing the procedure.
No, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to, I was just curious. I was questioning the dates. I saw the correct date on the resolution.
Angelo, if you could clarify, we're voting on a resolution for a pilot program that ends when?
The pilot program can end July 1, 2023.
Okay, and then, unless we renew it.
You have a right then to.
Okay, because
So you
that
need
was,
excuse me, you need another resolution to have it extend another year.
correct.
Okay.
If you want,
If you want to, you need another resolution. Okay.
That was the compromise that we came up with.
but the procedures will remain until July 1, 2024.
Okay, clarification, Angelo. If the board chooses to pass this tonight, then there's a public hearing
Public hearing on December, what, 2 weeks?
15.
15th.
for the next meeting, and then a vote after that meeting.
There'll be a vote on the resolution as the authority at that time.
Okay. So is everybody clear? No? Okay. Everyone's clear on what we're voting for? Okay.
Voting for a public hearing to have a pilot program which would go until July 1, 2023, and which indicates a modification of the procedures to say that the public participates at the meeting where there's a quorum. That would be at this meeting itself.
Okay.
If you approve the resolution, and you will have a public hearing on just before the meeting of next month, and then if you approve the resolution on January meeting, you'll go with it.
Thank you, Angelo. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
If you want to scroll up a little bit, Ray? We have no, policies, correct, Ray? I don't believe we do. We have no policies. I want to thank you. We're still under a Title I audit, and Rick and Richard have been working on that, and I think they've got it down to 1 or 2 items before we're audit clean and audit free. The policies you've been passing have been helpful, so we're close to getting that audit closed. At the end of the meeting, we'll have our usual communications, my report, and then advanced planning. We're going to come back to you on the 8th with another update on the capital projects, all of that, much more in-depth detail. We'll see if there's another topic. The 15th, you do need to have that public hearing if you pass this resolution tonight. If you don't, we won't schedule it, and we'll add more topics. Look again in December. 8th and 15th are back-to-back. There's no, there's no break in between. Because of the holiday break, we're going back-to-back there that month, too. So that is the agenda. Members of the board, as I said, I'm just checked my phone. I'm getting multiple questions about snow. I hope to be able to answer that by the conclusion of this meeting. And I will look down at my phone at 7:30, not to be rude to anybody, but to try to follow the Niagara and Orleans, for those that are watching live, at 7:30 this evening, the Niagara and Orleans superintendents are getting together on a Zoom. And I invited them all to come here, because I said I couldn't leave to go on the Zoom. But I'll be looking at my phone to see if they're staying open or closed. One of the concerns that they're having is that it appears as if Buffalo and the surrounding areas are all going to be shut down, and many districts are going to close because they don't think staff can get into the schools. It's not so much a problem for us, but that was the last conversation I had, because it's supposed to be that bad in the surrounding areas that traveling staff can't get into the schools. We've already canceled movie night at Abbott tomorrow night. That was 6 o'clock. And there's a beautiful turkey giveaway by a couple of our partners at Abbott for Saturday afternoon. We're going to push that off to Monday after school, just to be safe, because Saturday afternoon looks like it could be the worst for Niagara Falls. So I talked to the vendors who are giving away 1,400 turkeys using Abbott as a drive-through, and we've already agreed to postpone that until 3:15 to 6 on Monday. So that's already done.
Is it Fidelis?
Yes, sir. Fidelis Care and our friend Naz 716. They run that business and cultural center out there. They have procured 1,400 turkeys for families in Niagara Falls, and our contribution was to have them open up Abbott, but we'll do a drive-through in the front on Monday. That has already been changed. I'm just kind of going to wait and see what the other school districts are doing. But again, Earl and I were on a 3:30 call with their superintendents, and they were going to wait till 7:30 to make a decision. Their concern isn't that we're going to get a ton of snow tomorrow. It's that they're not going to be able to staff their schools because they're coming from places outside of Niagara County. Again, not so much of our concern, and Maria reported to me that we don't even have, we have not a great deal of absences yet for tomorrow, but I want to see what's going on with the other districts. So that's where I'm at, Mr. Petrosi and members of the board. There's no need for an executive session this evening at the conclusion of this voting meeting, and I appreciate you all in advance. I have a short report for you. I'll do some of my report, sure. I'll do some of my report. I wasn't aware of it until this week. I really wasn't, and I know is that in New York State, you're allowed to pass a resolution to raise the compulsory education age to 17. And it's something that I'm going to look into and possibly bring before you for resolution. Right now, we're at 16. And we have the ability to raise it.
So they can't leave school?
Yes, sir, they can't leave school. But I need to gather more information on that. I was asked that question, and I said, I've never really looked into it, but there is that provision there. So I want you to know that we're looking at that. Another thing that I want to tell you and keep you abreast of and have them come to a board meeting is, you've heard of Say Yes Buffalo? Say Yes Buffalo is interesting in opening up a satellite branch in Niagara Falls. And why is that important if we can get Say Yes Niagara Falls here? Because what their goal would be to give the high school seniors the last dollars in after tuition to pay for their college. Meaning you use all your Pell, your TAP, all your scholarships, and they would raise funds to support college education for any Niagara Falls High School student. That's the conversation that we've had. So I'm going to continue to pursue that. I'll say this now publicly, and I know we could say it at the end too, but really great to have Mr. Cadella back. Thank you for being here and persevering through all your personal traumas. You were missed and you were thought of. So it's good to see you back very much. But I wanted to recognize that. Let me just talk about this, and then I'll stop. Congratulations to Mr. Corella, the guy. No wonder the guy's getting a big award. Mr. Corella and Mr. Fisher have helped us to secure a $2.5 million mental health grant, $500,000 a year. It will allow us, Maria pointed out all that trauma training. It will allow us to now do 3 things. Rick, you correct me if I'm wrong, through 2027. It's a federal grant, $2.5 million. It's going to allow us to build a family support center, a staffed family support center in one of our schools. It's going to allow us to do more tier 2, 3 interventions with our kids that need it. And it's going to allow us to put together a resource guide, a one-stop shop resource guide that a parent, you, a community member can go to and say, I'm having this issue, this is the service I want to go to. We also have a number of outside partners that will pay for their services, like someone like a counseling service like Best Self, which is identified. We'll be able to bring Best Self into the district, pay for their services under the grant, and have that organization with us for counseling. How did I do, Rick?
Very good. Very well.
Did I miss anything?
You did not.
So Rick and Richard and Becky today pulled down the grant award. I'm appreciative of Congressman Higgins, and I'm sure we'll see him when we officially accept another huge grant, but I'm really, really excited about that. I'll stop right there. I only have 2 other things for the rest of my report, so that's good. Thank you. it down. No kidding, nothing is. Was that meeting productive, Rick? I thought it was all right.
Oh, yeah, very much so. I mean, it's not something we're going to be able to solve in 2 meetings, but it was, I think it's important that we started the conversation. So what we're gonna do is after we have the science meeting, then those other, then I'll meet again with those groups to kind of come up with, proposals or options for you to consider.
'22. Thank you.
Let us pray. Lord, we open our hearts and minds unto you tonight. Thank you for allowing us to gather in your presence. Be with us, inspire us, and lead us in all that we do tonight. We ask for your continued blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
I must say, last evening, we had a little function, and we had a 4-year-old preschool, said the pledge to the flag, and she's at Miss Grandinetti School, right?
Yeah, she said, what school you go to? Miss Grandinetti School. So you didn't notice, but Miss Grandinetti named the school after her. Self.
Yeah.
It's called Grandinetti, not Bond School. You worked very hard on it. We'll call it Grandinetti School now.
Yeah, it was a very nice function from the LaSalle Educational Club. We enjoyed it. Judy, saying that, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Wilson. Here. Mr. Kinsemi is excused.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Capizzi. Here. Mrs. Dunn. Here. Mr. Cadella.
Here.
Mr. Pareto.
Here.
Mr. Velardo. Here. And Mr. Petrosi.
Yes,
Eight
here,
present.
thank you. Any oral communications from the public on agenda items? No? Okay, moving on. Any written communications? Not that I'm aware of, correct, Judy? Thank you. Recommended actions from the superintendent of schools, 4.01 and 4.02 will take together the minutes and the approval of budget transfer number 4. Motion, please. Mr. Velardo and Mr. Cadella on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. 4.03, approval of bids.
There are none, Mr. Petrosi.
No bids? Thank you. 4.04, the treasurer's report is received and filed along with the budget status report. And we move on to 4.06, personnel report, certificated numbers 1 through 13. I got a motion, Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Bass. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson. Yes. Mr. Capizzi. Yes. Mrs. Dunn. Yes. Mr. Cadella. Yes. Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Yes. Mr. Petrosi.
Yes, thank you very much. 4.07, personnel report classified, numbers 1 through 11. Motion, please, Mr. Bass. Second. Mr. Velardo, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson. Yes. Mr. Capizzi. Yes. Mrs. Dunn. Yes. Mr. Cadella.
Yes.
Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Yes. Mr. Petrosi.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll take 4.08 and 4.09. They're the reports for committee, the reports from the Committee on Special Ed and Preschool Special Ed. Thank you, Mr. Cadella. On the motion, second, please.
Me.
Second by Mr. Pareto. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. I'm going to read the short-term contracts, just 2 or 4. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to jump in. And for the public's viewing, we've been working on these items all month. It seems like we're going right through them, but due diligence has been done on each and every item. So 4.10, short-term contracts. Number 1, Hinman Publishing. Number 2, Open Buffalo. Number 3, Lomax Barnes. Number 4, Robert and Carol Allen. Number 5, Niagara University. Number 6, Niagara University. Levesque Institute. Number 7, Child Care Resource Network. Number 8, Child Care Clearinghouse of Niagara. And number 9 is a rescind of the Clark Patterson Lee architectural contract. Okay, do I have a motion? Aye. Thank you. Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Cadella. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson. Yes. Mr. Capizzi. Yes. Mrs. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Cadella.
Yes.
Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Yes. And Mr. Petrosi.
Yes, thank you very much. 6.01 and 6.03 we will take together. Their acceptance of gifts, one from Dell Technology, the Learning Technology Grant, and acceptance of funds for the teacher centers. I didn't hear who that was. Thank you, Mr. Velardo. Second. Mr. Bilson, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson. Yes. Mr. Capizzi. Yes. Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Cadella.
Yes.
Mr. Pareto.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo. Mr. Petrosi.
Yes, thank you very much again. 6.04 is the approval of the addition of Bank on Buffalo to keep an eye on our money. Mr. Bilson, Mr. Velardo on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Thanks again. 6.05 and 6.06 together. One is the approval of the Office of Head Start, notice of federal interest in the property known as 901 24th Street, and the 606 is the approval of Head Start policy bylaws. Mr. Cladella on the motion, Mr. Paretto on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Thanks again. 6.07, approval of the 22 through 25 comprehensive technology program that we just talked about today. Motion by Mr. Paretto. Second by Mr. Velardo. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you again. 6.09 and 6.17 together. These are contracts. First one is with New York and Niagara University. That's 6.09. 610, Child Care Resource Network. 611, Dr. Lisa Klanowski. 6.12, Melinda Syme, psychologist. 6.13, TEL Consulting. 6.14, Niagara Barber Company. 6.15, Perry Ground for Literacy. 6.16, Liaison Scott. And 6.17, William Jones. One more. Yeah, well, let's take those, and I'll take 6.18 by itself. Motion on those, please. Mr. Velardo. Mr. Bass, questions, please. Call a roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Thanks again. 6.18, U.S. Services for security camera work. And 6.19, Shab, Hamidi, Citron, and Spratt for legal services. I had a motion from Mr. Paretto. Mr. Velardo on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 6.20 is a meeting of the Board of Education in accordance with the written procedures of the New York State Public Officers Law, immediately and continuing until July 1st, 23. That's for virtual meetings, layman's terms, correct? Thank you.
Yes, sir,
Motion
that's
and
the
second, if anyone's interested. Mr. Cadella, who was the motion? Mr. Cadella? Second? Mr. Bass? Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn?
Abstain.
Mr. Cadella?
Yes.
Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
7 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Thank you very much. And I'm just informed I missed 6.08. Judy wants to clean her office out, so of course we got to get that one done.
Yeah,
I think we skipped over it.
That's
How
what
could I
I
miss
said.
that one?
Yeah,
That was to get rid of, destroy the absentee ballots and unused ballots from the 21
We
election.
can give them all to you.
move.
I have a motion by Mr. Paretto, second by Mr. Cadella. Any questions? Call a roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think we should have.
Thank you.
We should have voted no and see what it looks like in about 5 years.
I would move them to the dry cleaners.
Yes, Judy. I'm proud of you, Judy. You're learning well. There's no.
Here we go. Now I gotta listen
I
to
think we
it.
should have a motion to clean out the dry cleaner's office.
Wow, here we go.
If anybody's been in that
Here
office,
we go.
no, we're missing 5 kids. Maybe they're there. And 11 shirts that I haven't had returned.
Hey, you got
Sorry.
most of them back.
I got
What?
most of them back. Really, my gosh. I'm going to put that on the agenda next month.
All right, moving on. Let's see, do we have any speakers on non-agenda items? Judy?
There were none signed in. I don't know if anyone's come in since who had a.
Come on up, Gloria. Even though you were late, I won't give you detention, I'll let you speak. 3 minutes, that'll never happen, but we'll try.
How was your trip?
Awesome. Peace. That's what it was.
Glad it was a great trip.
It was peace there. Yes, yes, yes. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And giving honor to God, I'm honored to be before you again today. I want to start by saying congratulations to the Superintendent, Mark Laurie, and Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Rick Corella, for receiving the Excellence in Literacy Leadership Award from Reading Recovery Council of North America. I also want to thank Mr. Petrozzi, Mr. Laurie, the Mayor Restano, and Mr. Elders, all for their role in the presentation of certificates presented to 20 students at Harry F. Abbott. Yesterday, the LaSalle Education Club sponsored a pre-Thanksgiving dinner to recognize students for their awesome accomplishment, identify academics, attendance, and behavior, along with their parents. Men Standing Strong Together and women are present now in Harry F. Abbott during lunchtime. The main reason is to be additional eyes, support, and compassion for children. We are not in schools to cause any threat to children nor staff. Every member of Men Standing Strong Together and women have given their devoted time to making a change in the lives of our children. We are no threat or imminent danger to teachers, staff, administration, or whatsoever. We are not there as spies, although our motives are pure. There are those who believe it is not a good idea for men standing strong and women presence in our schools. And remember, these are volunteers, persons who know the community and is given their right opportunity persons who know the community, and if given the right opportunity, can make a positive impact on our schools. I want each of you to think about that. We are volunteers with no pay, retired, some disability, and one 90 years old. So now, on the other hand, I want to bring to your attention the cost of snacks in the schools. 75 cents for the cost of a snack. In many cases, there are more than one child in the family. I believe that causes a burden. Some families have up to 4 children in elementary school or more. And a lot of students don't have 75 cents for a little snack. Potato chips that you know is full of more air than it is potato chips. And it causes children to be humiliated, outcast, and many times they sit alone. And on the other hand, it's another situation I witnessed is that when the juices are not used, students are to pay 25 cents for the juice. But that's from the lunch. So I thought maybe our members of this board would like to know some of those things, and maybe you already know them. But I know what I witnessed, children many times have stated they wish they had 75 cents. And today, I spent myself about $3.50. Now, I'm not complaining about the money that I spent, but many times I might not even have it. So we all should put ourselves in the place of a child. They don't know why things are the way they are. So they seem to be outcast and made fun of by other students, which don't know any better. So let's, if we can, look at that 75 cents for a little small pack of potato chips. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Mr. Laurie.
Sure, thank you. I'll be brief because I went through my reports. First of all, Ms. Olson, thank you very much for your acknowledgement of the award. I want to just say this with sincerity. The reason we're able to do reading recovery in the district at budget time and to expand it this year is because of the 9 members around this table. When Mr. Corella presented it, researched it, and planned it, the 9 votes here were affirmative for reading recovery. I think it's really an award that the board deserves and that Rick Corella deserves far more than myself, because I just get to say yes or no to him. He does all the work behind it. So I'm really glad that they recognize Rick's work, and he deserves that credit more than anyone. So congratulations again, Rick. Yep, definitely.
All right, Rick.
Definitely, he does all. I say oftentimes I'm the eye candy, Rick's the worker. So that's probably less true, but we have the best curriculum and instruction person in the state. There's no doubt in my mind. No one compares to him, and I've always threatened him, don't you ever think about taking a job with the state, because he'd be in big trouble by a lot of people sitting at that table. But he is the best. To your point about the snacks, what I haven't done and what I will promise to do is meet with Kevin and Becky to look into those costs and either give you an explanation or make an adjustment. Just haven't done it. But thank you for raising the point. But between Becky and Kevin Edwards, we will look into that next week. My third or my penultimate comment is I'd like to update everyone on the situation, because I've made a pledge to do this. We had a situation with North Tonawanda a number of now months ago, and we are now moving into some action steps. So let me just give you some dates that I wanted to outline, and I know the viewing public has asked me about this as well. On Wednesday, November 30th, a group of students from North Tonawanda and a group of students from Niagara Falls High School will meet at the Underground Railroad and take a tour of the Underground Railroad together. It will be a guided, explained tour for high school students from North Tonawanda and Niagara Falls. I'm hoping to get as many as 50 kids in there, have a guided tour, provide lunch, and then have the discussion continue around what they saw and learned during a lunch we'll have for them. On December 1st, our 2 school committees will meet again to talk about issues. On December 6th, it's our girls and boys basketball game against North Tonawanda. And on that day, the basketball teams, both boys and girls from North Tonawanda, will be invited to Niagara Falls High School, again, to have lunch, and then to have their sporting contests. We'll have a guest speaker who will address them. We're planning on having Modi Cox, who is doing good work in our district, address the students, and again, over lunch, break bread, and not have our team sit by our team. No, we're gonna intersperse our teams so that they can talk and get to know each other, and then go play hard-fought games on the court. Hard-fought games on the court. On the 18th of January, a group of Niagara Falls High School students will go to shadow at North Tonawanda High School. They'll spend a day with a partner, going to their classes, following their schedule, and then soon after that, a group of North Tonawanda students will come and spend a day following a Niagara Falls High School student schedule and get to know each other better. On the 30th of January, we'll do that. We'll do the same procedures with Lewiston Porter. I bring this up because I want those that are listening, viewing, and remembering that we will not let this go. We will not keep lamenting what happened. We'll take positive steps forward to try to bridge our school communities as best we can. Everybody has been accepting and open to that, and I promise you, we will keep you updated and abreast of those events. It's a start. It's only a start, but I think it's movement forward. As I told the board that at 7:30 there is a Zoom call with all the superintendents regarding the possible snow. I know many of the districts in Niagara County, despite the fact that we don't expect much snow tomorrow, are closing because of travel for adults and travel bans that are coming forth. If we are to close, I will make an auto dialer call at 8 o'clock this evening to make that decision. Always erring on the side of student caution and cognizant of staff travel or the conditions that could happen at the end of the day. We've postponed our movie night from the Men Standing Strong because that's about right when it's supposed to hit us hard. And we've moved our turkey giveaway to Monday, 3:15 to 6. And finally, we're coming up on the season, and I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We won't be together again until after the Thanksgiving recess, but I am thankful for the following. I'm thankful for all of the parents and guardians who send their children to our schools. I'm thankful for all of our staff that works very, very hard, very hard. I'm thankful for this community that always rallies behind us, not against us, but behind us, and supports your goal, strategic goal number 3 or 4 of the highest level of community involvement. I'm thankful for the community. And most importantly, tonight to you, board members, I'm thankful for you. You do volunteer service. You're not just here every Thursday night. We talk daily, and I have proof to show that every one of these board members speaks to us daily about the ongoing things that are happening in our school. You do it for no remuneration, and you do it for the love of kids, being a servant. So I say happy Thanksgiving, and thanks to you for your service. That's all, Mr. Petrosi.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, I want to go in a different order today. How about we start with Mr. Bilson?
Just echo all of Mark's points. I'm wishing you all a great holiday season. Hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful for all of you and all the families in the district and everyone involved with what's been a great school year so far. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Bilson. Mrs. Dunn.
Nothing. Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Capizzi.
I'll echo the comments of my two colleagues. A very happy Thanksgiving to everybody, to Mark and the administration, everybody else. Thanks for all your hard work and great working with all of you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your families.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Godello.
Thank you all for your hard work, Mark and team. And Rick, congratulations on all of your success recently. I worked for Rick when I was a teacher. And
how was he?
Fantastic. The best. We had a great time. The best.
Is that why you're a policeman or what?
Yeah. No, I know why he is. No, I know why he is. I've heard the story. Had nothing to do with Rick. I can tell you. It didn't have anything to do with him. No, Rick didn't run him out.
Thanks to all of you, my colleagues, for the condolences and the gift basket and the card. And I really appreciate it. My family does too. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And,
thanks,
Paul, real fast, on behalf of all the colleagues in administration, our sincere condolences of what you went through the past year. We all talked, and we all feel terrible for you, and it's good to have you back. And sorry it's unfortunate this time of year, but we're all behind you.
Not at all.
Very nice.
Mr. Valero.
No, just echo Mark's comments about being thankful. And over the holidays, we should take a minute off personally to sit down and reflect on what we are thankful for in this world, for living in the United States and having this community and our friends and family besides us at this time. It's a tough time of the year, especially for losses, personal losses. So reflect on the good things that we have to thank God for. So wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Nick. Mr. Bass.
I just want to say thank you to Mark and the staff, and congratulations. Also, happy Thanksgiving. I hope that it's filled with love, laughter, relaxation, and reflection, and enjoy your time with your family. Thank you.
Thanks, Earl. Tony?
Well, I'd like to reiterate a few more thoughts. Congratulations, Rick and Mark, and congratulations. I'm very thankful for our wonderful staff we have here, my colleagues on the board. I appreciate you. That's why I love serving on this board. All the folks out there that either know me or don't, but you support us by sending your kids to our fine schools. On a personal note, I would like to thank everybody for all the prayers that I received the last 2 weeks, and how fortunate that I am to be healthy enough to, keep my work up here at the board and so on. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and God bless you.
Thanks, Tony. Anyone? Anybody else? Back row? No? I'll be very brief. Paul, our condolences, and glad to have you back. Going forward, if you need anything. Tony, I'm glad you're on the mend. Jimmy's on the mend, so hopefully everybody's doing well. And Mr. Bass is on the mend. We're a pretty beat-up group.
Yeah, but we're tough, though. We're tough.
Rick, congratulations.
Yeah.
Nice job, Rick. Very proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work, and thank everyone for the hard work. Saying that, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm going to read a list of people we're going to adjourn in memory of. And Judy.
Thank you for inviting me.
That was nice.
I enjoyed it. It was a good event. Good event. You did a great job. It was a pleasure being there.
Thank you, Judy. Please note that was a 29-minute meeting.
Noted.
Saying that, we're going to adjourn the meeting tonight in memory of several of our friends, and I'll read them off. Eugene Ashler is a retired teacher. Shirley Burke, mother of Janice Mistretta. Robert Farah, brother-in-law, former member of Bob Kasajian, and yours truly, a good friend of the family. Retired special education associate, Carol Frashone and Sam Frashone, both parents of our Sam Frashone that works for us, and also associate Paula Frashone. Loretta Jean Cadella, mother of our own colleague Paul Cadella, and mother-in-law of our computer application specialist Terrence Prant. Alan Monroe, brother of Robin Rendina, and Carol Volk, mother of Kevin Edwards and mother-in-law of Lisa Edwards of our staff. Motion for adjournment in memory of those following people, preceding people. Mr. Cadella, Mr. Bass, all in favor? Good night, everybody.
Right.